To the world, she was everyone's favorite tough granny, loud, proud, and full of fire. But behind that famous apron and sharp tongue was a woman who carried years of hidden pain, deep regrets, and a list of people she could never forgive. While audiences laughed at her jokes and admired her spunky attitude, very few knew the real truth behind the woman who played Granny Clampett. Her name was Irene Ryan, and her life was not a comedy. It was a long, lonely road filled with rejection, betrayal, and quiet anger. Today we open that hidden chapter. We reveal the 6 actors Irene Ryan, known to the world as Granny, quietly hated the most and why. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Irene was born in El Paso, Texas in 1902. She grew up during a time when dreams were a luxury, especially for a poor girl in a struggling family. Her father was not close to her, and her mother tried her best to keep the family going. From a very young age, Irene knew that she had to depend on herself. She found joy in making people laugh, but behind every smile was a longing to be taken seriously, to be more than just the funny sidekick. As she grew older, Irene entered the world of show business. But Hollywood was cruel to women like her, women who did not fit the perfect beauty standards or did not have powerful connections. She worked hard, took small roles, and kept going, even when people told her she'd never make it big. Her personal life was not any easier. She went through failed relationships, and she never had children, which left a quiet ache in her heart that she carried all her life. Fame came late, and even then, she felt the sting of being misunderstood and overlooked. She was not someone who exploded in public. She did not shout or scream, but she had a memory like steel, and those who hurt her, disrespected her, or dismissed her were never forgotten. Whether it was co-stars who treated her poorly, producers who doubted her, or actors who stole the spotlight, Granny Clampett had her list, and she never forgave easily. Now we talk about 6 actors Granny Clampett hated the most. Number 1. Buddy Ebsen. 2 fans. Buddy Ebsen and Irene Ryan looked like the perfect on-screen family. He played Jed Clampett, the wise and calm father figure, while she ruled the roost as the fiery Granny. Their chemistry on the Beverly Hillbillies was natural, funny, and unforgettable. But off-camera, things were not so perfect. In fact, Irene Ryan kept a quiet but firm distance from Buddy. She respected his talent, but deep down, she never truly trusted him. Buddy was known to take control on set. He had strong opinions and often tried to guide scenes the way he wanted. Irene did not like being told how to act, especially after working so hard to earn her place in Hollywood. She had fought too long and too hard to let anyone silence her or take credit for her success. But Buddy, being the lead actor, often got the spotlight and the praise, and Irene felt like her efforts were always second in line. She also believed that Buddy did not truly understand or appreciate the depth of her character. He treated her more like a supporting act than an equal. This hurt Irene. She had poured her whole heart into Granny Clampett, and all she wanted was fair respect. Over time, the friendly smiles between takes became less real. Their conversations turned cold, and Irene began to keep her distance. She never made public drama out of it, but those close to her knew Irene Ryan never liked working with people who acted superior. And Buddy Ebsen, in her eyes, became one of those people. Their on-screen magic was real, but the relationship behind the scenes, cold, complicated, and quietly filled with resentment. Number 2. Bea Arthur. Bea Arthur was a talented and beloved actress who, like Irene Ryan, had spent years building her career one small step at a time. She starred in shows like Petticoat, Junction, and was known for her warm, motherly charm. On the surface, she and Irene had a lot in common. Both were older women in Hollywood. Both had earned their fame later in life, and both were respected for their comic timing. But behind the scenes, there was tension that no one talked about out loud. Irene Ryan often felt like she was in a silent competition with Bea. CBS gave Bea her own show while Irene was still playing a side character. That stung. Irene had worked just as hard, yet it seemed like Bea was always one step ahead, getting more attention, better roles, and more control over her career. Even though they weren't on the same show, their paths often crossed through producers, studio events, and shared networks. Each time, Irene could not shake the feeling that Bea was the favorite. It was not hate in the loud, angry sense. It was quiet, more like a slow burn. Irene admired Bea's success, but secretly felt overlooked in her shadow. She believed she could do more, be more, if only she had the same chances. That bitterness stayed with her, growing deeper each time she saw Bea celebrated for roles she herself had once auditioned for. The industry never saw it, but Irene carried that rivalry in her heart. She did not speak badly of Bea in public, but in private, she made it clear. She never truly liked her. Bea represented everything Irene was denied, and that silent comparison became a wound that never healed. Number 3. Paul. Henning Paul. Henning was the man behind the Beverly Hillbillies. He was the show creator, writer, and one of the most powerful people on set. Without him, the show would not exist. But for Irene Ryan, Paul was not a hero. He was a source of pain, doubt, and quiet frustration. She respected him as a creator, but deep inside, she felt he never truly believed in her potential. From the beginning, Irene sensed that Henning saw her only as comic relief, someone to make jokes, shout in a funny voice, and play the silly old woman. While fans adored Granny Clampett, Irene always wanted to show more of her character's depth. She wanted serious scenes, emotional moments, and meaningful storylines. But Henning kept her in a box, always playing the same loud, wild role, never letting her step beyond it. She often felt dismissed in meetings and script discussions. Ideas she shared were brushed off. Suggestions she made were ignored. While others had their roles expanded, Irene's character stayed stuck, repeating the same kind of lines, the same jokes. Over time, she started to feel invisible, even though her performance was a major reason for the show's success. What hurt Irene the most was that she knew her worth. She had spent decades in entertainment. She had talent, experience, and heart. Yet Paul Henning, the man who controlled the show, never gave her the space to grow. He boxed her in, and that hurt more than anything. To the world, he was the genius behind the Clampetts. But to Irene Ryan, Paul Henning was the man who kept her small, and for that, she never forgave him. Number 4. Max Baer Jr. Max Baer Jr. played Jethro Bodine, the goofy, lovable nephew on the Beverly Hillbillies. He was young, loud, and full of energy. His comic timing made people laugh, and his silly character was a fan favorite. But behind the scenes, his playful behavior did not always sit well with Irene Ryan. At first, she tried to tolerate it. She knew Max was young and eager to have fun. But over time, his constant joking crossed a line. Max was known for pulling pranks and making fun of people on set. Most of the cast laughed along, but Irene felt disrespected. She came from an older, more serious generation of performers, where discipline and focus mattered. She did not mind humor, but she believed there should be a line between professionalism and foolishness. Max often made fun of her age or copied her voice in a mocking tone. While others brushed it off as harmless teasing, Irene took it personally. She never publicly argued with Max. She was too graceful for that. But she started to distance herself from him. She avoided conversations, left the set early, and kept things strictly professional. In private, she told close friends that Max Baer Jr. did not know when to stop. She felt he lacked respect, not just for her, but for the craft of acting itself. To fans, they looked like a fun family on screen. But in real life, Irene felt like Max's immaturity made the work environment tiring. The playful nephew on the show became a painful reminder that not everyone valued the effort she put in. For Irene Ryan, Max was not just a jokester. He was a daily test of patience, and deep inside, she resented him for never taking her seriously. Number 5. Nancy Culp. Nancy Culp played Miss Jane Hathaway, the loyal and intelligent secretary to Mr. Drysdale. She was smart, classy, and deeply respected by the cast and crew. In the early days, Irene Ryan and Nancy shared a warm bond. They laughed between takes, supported each other on set, and even shared meals during breaks. Irene admired Nancy's strong personality and dry humor. For a while, it seemed like they were true friends in a tough business. But slowly, that friendship began to fall apart. And not because of fame or ego, but because of differences that ran much deeper. As the years passed, their personal beliefs started to clash. Nancy Culp was outspoken in her views, especially about politics and social issues. Irene, on the other hand, was more private, conservative, and traditional in her thinking. Their once friendly conversations turned into quiet disagreements, and their warm laughs became stiff silences. Irene did not like drama, so she kept her distance. But deep down, she felt betrayed by someone she once trusted. To make things worse, Nancy was getting more attention in later seasons. Producers praised her, magazines featured her, and fan letters poured in. Irene felt like she was slowly being pushed aside, and she blamed Nancy for not acknowledging the shift. That silent jealousy mixed with personal differences built an invisible wall between them. They never had a loud argument. There were no headlines or scandals, but those who watched closely could feel the coldness. Irene Ryan never liked fake friendships, and when she felt Nancy had changed, she quietly ended the bond. To the audience, they were just co-stars. But to Irene, Nancy Culp became someone she once trusted and could never trust again. Number 6. Raymond Bailey. Raymond Bailey played Milburn Drysdale, the greedy banker obsessed with the Clampett's money. On screen, he was sharp, confident, and always scheming. Off-screen, he carried himself like a gentleman, polite, well-dressed, and reserved. Many on set saw him as a quiet professional, but Irene Ryan saw something else. To her, Raymond was not the kind and respectful man others believed him to be. In fact, she quietly considered him one of the coldest people she had ever worked with. Irene felt that Raymond looked down on her. She noticed how he often ignored her ideas, rarely spoke to her unless necessary, and acted distant even during cast gatherings. While others thought it was just his quiet nature, Irene took it personally. She believed Raymond did not respect her as an actress, that he saw her only as a loud character, not a serious performer. This silent treatment hurt her deeply. One moment that especially stayed with her was during a major interview. While other cast members praised each other, Raymond barely mentioned her. Irene never forgot that. She felt erased, as if her hard work did not matter. It was not about jealousy. It was about basic respect. And in her heart, she believed he never gave it. She never spoke out about it. She smiled on screen and stayed professional. But in her private thoughts, Raymond Bailey remained on her list of quiet resentments. He might have been calm and smooth in public, but Irene saw through the surface. She saw the man who never saw her, and that silent judgment wounded her pride. For Irene Ryan, being ignored hurt more than being insulted. And Raymond Bailey, to her, was the man who never truly saw her worth. And so, behind the laughter and southern sass of Granny Clampett was a woman who carried silent grudges and deep disappointments. Irene Ryan gave the world joy while quietly wrestling with the pain of being overlooked, underestimated, and disrespected. She smiled for the camera but never forgot those who made her journey harder. Her story reminds us, even legends carry scars. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood truths.